Malpal, let's head over to the hotline. We are joined by, as I said earlier, one of our favorite humans in the media, and that is Miss Darby Brown, sports anchor and reporter for KWTX down there in the Waco area. Darby, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing well. You excited for some football?
I am. I mean, you guys were talking about it, but it's been a crazy week of trying to figure out what was happening and what the plans were. And so lots of football out here tonight also. So we're excited.
Yeah, a suddenly, pretty calm Thursday turned into a chaotic Thursday very quickly. But before we get into all the action that we'll be watching on the field tonight, Darby, we love to have everyone who comes on the show tell us a little bit about yourself. You know, where are you from? How'd you end up in Waco? And, how'd you get here?
Yeah, so I mean, I was born and raised in Scottsdale. Well, no, born in Michigan, raised in Arizona. So I'll start there. But Arizona is definitely home. And then I went to college out in California, and like a lot of us, sort of put out my reel to wherever I could, and I landed out in Midland, Odessa for my first job. So I was out in West Texas for 2 years, and then one thing led to another, and then for my next job, I came over here to Waco, so kind of followed a boss had taken over at this station. So it worked out nicely for me, kind of a perfect second stop, and I was happy to still be in Texas. And so, yeah, I've been out here for about 3 years, covering high school football in Texas for now 5. So it's gone fast, and it's been a lot of fun. I definitely knew this is what I always wanted to do, so I'm glad that I'm able to do it, and it's been really fun to be out here in Texas, even though I never really thought I would end up out here, but I do like it.
Okay, 2 questions. 1, you went to college in California, didn't know that. Where did you go? And 2, you're clearly very new to six-man football because they don't have that, I don't think, anywhere else. And six-man football is huge in Super Centex region. So what do you think of that?
Yeah, so the first question, I went to Chapman University. It's a smaller school in Orange County. We were, super close to Newport Beach, Disneyland, all the things like that. And I was able to intern at a lot of places in LA, which was really awesome and great experiences. My last internship was at ESPN in LA, which was really cool.
Nice.
And so
That's
anyways,
cool.
I was out there, and then six-man, yeah. So when I started, Balmorhea is out in West Texas, so obviously and Borden County too, which are obviously big programs. So I jumped right into the middle of it, and actually, I think my first year out there, ESPN had just mate a documentary about six-man football and all that it was, and so yeah, I mean, it is a lot of fun. I was at first just seeing scores kind of pop up, and I was like, what is this? And then
90 to
and then
7.
I realized, and then I realized what was going on. But I was kind of researching before the year. I'm like, man, what the heck are they doing? And then I realized it was six-man. So very unique. Yeah. And really a lot of fun. I'm actually going to Abbott's game tonight.
Let's
so
go.
Heck
get
yeah.
my fix. Yeah, exactly.
Well, we'll talk a little bit more about Abbott in a minute here, especially because Coach Terry Crawford is one of my favorite humans. But obviously, there's a ton of really good play on the field. There's a ton of really good teams out there in the Super Centex area. But if other people from around the state are going to sit there and when they think of the Super Centex, what would you say is like the number one thing, that the big storyline that should pop into their brains when they hear, oh, football in Super Centex?
I think there's a few right now. I mean, I think if you've paid attention at all the last 5 years, whatever. I mean, Mart is definitely a huge storyline right now with how much they've won, and then they had kind of a down year last year. Coach Hoffman retired and then unretired, and now he's back. And so I think that storyline's been interesting to follow, that, just the determination that they have out there to get back and win another state title. And then, I think China Spring's been a really great story as well. I mean, last year they were obviously very good, but they had a new head coach this year and weren't really sure of how things were looking for them, but they've been incredible. So I think those two teams pop out to me. And then just in general, I think there's a lot of really solid programs out here. So it's been fun to cover these teams, and a lot of the teams that have kind of been good and stayed good, but there are some teams that will surprise you. That happened this year as well with University high school. They've been a lot better, and so there's been some surprises this year as well.
Speaking of some of those really big powerhouse teams like China Spring, Lorena, bunch of them, Mart, Abbott, which of those teams, or maybe even all of them, if you think so, have the best shot at making it to AT&T Stadium in December?
I mean, China, you got to go with China Spring on that. I think they have it. I mean, they have an incredible shot. I think, I don't know, it's hard to give one out of that list. I think Mart has a good shot. I think Abbott has a good shot.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say those three. Crawford, as you mentioned as well, if they can stay healthy, I think they have a great shot too. So we could have a handful if we're lucky out here, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just gonna say there are certain people that we know we can like mark down like, oh, we're definitely gonna see you at AT&T Stadium, and you're 110% one of them. It's like we don't know which day, we don't know how many days, but we know for a fact you're gonna be there at some point. So I love that you brought up University. They really have. They have shocked a lot of people. Quite a few really good wins. I know that that win over Pflugerville Connolly, and really it was the one over Leander Rouse that kind of set the rest of us going, oh, hey, there's something really special going on down there. I know that playoffs are literally right around the corner and we'll start to get those matchups here soon, but when you take a look at any teams that aren't those notorious China Springs, they aren't the Lorenas, anything like that, do you think that there's anyone that can have maybe not an AT&T run, but a deep playoff run that might surprise people?
I think Cameron Yo, I mean, that district is loaded, and I think Cameron's been very good. I mean, they lost to Franklin, but Franklin, if you look at them at being kind of the top front runner, that's the only district loss they have. So I mean, they beat Lorena. They've been pretty impressive to me. They put up a lot of points. So I think Cameron, if they're positioned well, there's a lot of that goes on. I think they could make a pretty big run and kind of fly under the radar a little bit, just because they are in such a tough district that people don't, you're not focused on them as much, but they've been impressive to me this year.
Yeah, you see the 3 seed and go, they can't make that much noise. And it's like, yeah, but hang on a second.
Literally. There are, man, so we do a players to watch segment on this show about each region. And it took me a while to pick just 6 or 7 of the most talented players in the Super Syntex region. It just seems like all of these different players can just be put in so many different places on the field. But when you take a look at the Super Syntex region as a whole, which top players do you think people should be paying attention to the most?
Yeah, I mean, I think a guy from Lorena, Jaden Porter, he always impresses me, which I know Lorena's had sort of a not down year, but, maybe they didn't get Franklin and, they're maybe not quite the team they were last year, but he is just such a playmaker. China Springs quarterback this year as well. He's Cash McCollum. He has been very impressive too, and he's a guy that can hurt you in the air and on the ground. He transferred in, which was good for, I'm sure all the China Spring people have been happy with him, but especially after losing Major Bowden. So he's been good, and I mean, there's really a lot of guys. Rashawn Sanford from Harker Heights, he's about to play at Houston next year. He's been incredible and just such a playmaker at the 6A level. And then Jelani McDonald is one of my favorites too, and he plays for Connolly, and they've had a good year. They could go undefeated in district tonight to cap off their district season, but they've had a great year, and he had a little bit of an injury problem, but he's been healthy and he's been very good. And I know he was committed to Oklahoma State, but he recently opened his commitment up again, so that's been kind of interesting. But he just, every time I watch him play, I'm impressed by it. He just kind of can do whatever he wants out there. He's obviously not a true quarterback as far as at the college level, but he's such an athlete that's been impressive too. So yeah, there's a lot of guys on a lot of different teams. Pretty much every team you look at, I feel like there's somebody there. There's a guy on every group. So it's been fun.
I know that we're probably past this point of the year, but you've been down in Waco for a couple of years now, and so you've become familiar with those like really heated rivalries, and there's a couple of really good ones. And honestly, I mean, heck, at this point there's a couple of new ones that are really fun, like China Spring and all of them. But is there a specific rivalry game, or maybe not even a rivalry game, but is there a specific game that happens every year that you get most excited to, like, hey, I'm gonna go cover that one?
Yeah, I love the Battle of the Bell, even though I know it's been a little bit lopsided recently with Cameron Yo and Rockdale, but I love that game. I went and covered it the first year I was here, and I haven't been able to get back since because It's just kind of far from our station and, logistics in that way, but it is a really fun one, and they get really hyped for that. And then, like you said, that there's been some new rivalries. I mean, Crawford and Marlin have become rivals because of the way they've been playing recently, which has been fun. And so there's a handful of them, but the Battle of the Bell definitely sticks out just because I think you can just really tell. I love high school football because I love how much the communities care, and you can just tell that no matter really how their team is, they're going to show up for that one. And, it means a lot to them. So that's been good. And also La Vega and Connolly, that one's always fun. And that one, Connolly got a win this year, which was pretty big for them. So that one's always fun too. And Waco people just love that game every year. I've been to that one.
Yeah, that's one of them that gets chirpy, both on the field and off the field. So that's always kind of a fun, more hostile environment.
And there's always like such good talent in those two teams
too.
Yeah. So many really star power players. It's always so fun to watch.
Absolutely. Well, Darby, before we let you go here, there's one more question we always like to ask people, and I'm actually very interested to hear your answer on this. Waco definitely, like, just talking Waco, not talking the rest of Super Syntax, but Waco always gets a bad rap for being kind of like chain restaurant food hell almost. It's a lot of the normal chain restaurants that you'll see. It's a college town, but you've been there for a couple of years. If you were going to tell someone to eat at like a really good spot in Waco, where would your suggestion be?
I feel like it has to be George's because George's is just Waco's, famous place. So, I mean, it is so good, and anyone ever I take there loves it, and it's kind of the must-see here in Waco. But another one is Milo. It's a new one. I'll give that one too. To not be so traditional, but either of those, you can't go wrong. And you just got to know where to go in Waco. I'll say that. You got to know where to go in Waco. So if you guys are ever around, let me know. So I'll let you know. But you got to. To get away from the chains and stuff, you're right. You got to dig a little bit, but there's a good food scene out here if you know where you're going. So
we went to the. I can't say that we had like the best restaurant experience, but we did go to Putters the last time we were there. That little indoor mini golf arcade thing. That was a blast.
And what we did do is we ordered food to that place because they don't sell food there. We ordered it from the IHOP because they've got a little like hidden restaurant in there, and it was like a
baller move, you guys.
It was so good. It was so good, though. I don't remember what it was called.
But we'll have you hook us up next time.
Yeah, I know.
I hop at Putters. That is quite a story. Wow.
If nothing else, we stay on brand. WTF is the name of the show. She is Darby Barron, sports anchor and reporter there at KWTX. Darby, thank you so much for hopping on, and I can basically guarantee we'll probably see you at some point in AT&T Stadium.
I agree. Thank you guys so much. I love the show. Keep